The Bell Still Rings Chapter 1. The Return. Amara Baines hadn't set foot in her hometown of Benton, Georgia in nearly 12 years. It was a quiet southern place with whispering trees, porches heavy with memories, and a high school that had once been a battlefield for her spirit. Now 30, a civil rights attorney known for her sharp courtroom mind and fierce advocacy, Amara had returned not for a reunion, but for a talk she'd been invited to give at Benton High. She almost said no. The name alone brought back too much. The sting of being called articulate like a white girl, the snickers when she wore her natural hair, the silence from teachers when slurs slipped from other students. But she said yes. For the girls who still sat in those desks, for the ones being broken slowly. Chapter 2. The history teacher. Mr. Callahan was still there. Gray-haired now, a little slower in his walk. But the same man who once taught history like it was carved from stone, leaving out the blood and fire of black struggle, of truth. He had taught Amara. Or rather, tried to tame her curiosity, her resistance. She remembered the day he made her read a passage from a textbook that called enslaved people workers and immigrants, and how her hands shook with fury. He was in the front row at her speech. She saw him. His eyes didn't leave her. Maybe he expected something soft. But Amara hadn't come to soothe. Chapter 3. The speech, her voice was a song of fire and sorrow. I remember being 15. Sitting in that corner chair, she said, pointing to the back of the auditorium, listening to a teacher explain the Civil War without mentioning slavery. I remember raising my hand to correct him. I remember detention. She paused. Let it sink in. There's a kind of violence in silence. A kind that doesn't leave bruises, but it lingers, crawls into how we see ourselves. The room was breathless. Some students stared at their shoes. Some nodded, quietly emboldened. Then she said his name. Mr. Callahan, I hope you're here today. Because I want to thank you. A murmur rippled. I want to thank you for showing me what denial looks like up close. You made me learn how to argue with truth. You taught me to fight not with fists, but with facts and fire. You didn't break me. You forged me. Eyes turned to Callahan. He looked like he'd aged 20 years in 5 minutes. His mouth moved, but no words came. Chapter 4. The Confrontation. After the speech, he approached her backstage. He looked small, like a boy trying to fit inside a man's regret I never knew. He said, his voice cracking. I didn't realize what I was doing. You did, Amara replied softly. Maybe not consciously, but deep down, you knew which stories you left out. You knew the difference between comfort and truth. He began to cry tears, not just of shame, but release. I'm sorry, he said. I think I've been afraid to face it all my life. Amara studied him. Then start now. It's never too late to stop being the villain. Chapter 5. The shift. Weeks later, word spread that Mr. Callahan had changed his curriculum, introduced new books, invited speakers, even stepped back to let a young black teacher lead the Black History module. Some parents protested. He didn't bend. Amara received a letter from a sophomore named Tiana. Miss Baines, I heard your speech. I never knew someone like me could be powerful like that. Thank you for fighting back. Thank you for being loud. Epilogue. The bell still rings years from now. People would talk about that day in Benton like it was a beginning. Amara never returned to live there, but her echo stayed in those halls, where the bell still rang every hour. A new kind of ring now. Less of a command, more of a call.